Hi everybody. Do you remember one of the first lectures we had and I suggested that the most important principle in Latin grammar was agreement? We talked then about how in English word order is the equivalent most important principle. Chapter 5 introduces a new part of speech called the adjective, which brings that principle of agreement far more into the forefront of our minds. We've seen agreement already, for sure. Subjects, nominatives of our finite verbs have needed to agree in number with the verb. A plural verb always needs a plural subject. Well, adjectives must agree with their nouns in case, gender, and number. As with nouns, adjectives belong to declensions, patterns of endings, and decline accordingly. There are essentially two different patterns for adjectives. A pattern that combines first and second declension endings, and a pattern that follows the third declension endings. We're going to learn these later after we learn third declension nouns. Like all nouns, adjectives have a stem onto which we put the endings that we need. Now, in English, our adjectives are linked to nouns by proximity, so we'd say sour milk, and usually appear between the article and a noun. So we would say the black cat. In Latin, the ending of the adjective tells you what case, gender, and number it is, and this tells you what noun it belongs to, what noun it modifies. It's as if the ending for the adjective encodes its relationship to a noun. The endings, for now, will mostly be the same, but that's just a result of how the book introduces these things. So in the discussion in the book on page 39, section 28, you can see that sometimes the endings will actually be different. But the important thing to know is the noun and the adjective are the same case, gender, and number. Now you're going to need to be very careful about this. It's the single most common mistake for beginners to assume that the same ending means the same thing in every instance. Or that a noun must have an adjective with the same ending. It's just not true. And we've already seen that endings can mean very different things. The adjective agrees with the noun it's modifying in case, gender, and number, not in ending. It takes the endings from the declension to which it belongs, and those endings tell us what case, gender, and number it is. So on the screen in front of you, you've got the first and second declension adjective endings, and they're taken pretty much as a group. So any masculine noun will automatically have an adjective if you're using bonus, which belongs to that first and second declension. If that noun is modified by that adjective, it's going to agree in case, gender, and number. So a masculine noun is going to have bonum as the accusative adjective, if that noun is accusative. A feminine noun in the ablative singular is going to have bona. And let's say a neuter noun in the genitive plural must have bonorum. The endings will be the same, but the endings simply encode the case, gender, and number, and it's really the case, gender, and number which are the same. The fact that the case ending is the same is just lucky for now. It just means you don't have to memorize any new endings, right? That's good. So, an adjective will agree with the noun it is modifying in case, gender, and number. Taking the endings from the declension to which it belongs, these endings signal the case, gender, and number. Now, the other place we see agreement in this chapter concerns the verb to be. The verb to be is irregular. That means it doesn't really follow any one conjugation, but you'll see a pattern in the endings it takes. S, that's that short vowel in S, est, the T ending the word, sunt, NT ending the word. These are things that you have seen before. Mus for first person plural. All right? We call it irregular not because it's unpredictable, but because it doesn't follow a single conjugation. You might as well just memorize the present tense of the verb to be. We'll get other tenses as well. After a while, with all of these tenses, you'll begin to see that the Latin verb sort of makes a fair amount of sense in the way it's put together, but I think for now, let's just memorize it. Now, the verb sum esse is also what the book calls a linking verb. Linking verbs often mean something like to be or to become, and they have an important agreement rule that goes along with them. It's actually a totally sensible rule given what agreement means. It's more like agreement just works out with linking verbs in a different way. In a nutshell, the agreement rule with linking verbs means that what is on one side of a linking verb must be the same as what is on the other, just as if 1 plus 1 is 2, right? Equals 2. For us right now, this only means practically that a noun or an adjective following a linking verb must be the same case, which will be nominative, as the subject of the linking verb. It will almost always be the same gender and number as well. If there is a compound subject, any male presence in the subject ruins the whole lot, and it must be masculine as a compound subject. So, even if there were a sentence with 999 women and 1 man, let's say 999 women and 1 man are happy. Happy would have to be nominative to agree with the compound subject, and plural, but it would be masculine. So I call this the one bad apple rule. One bad apple spoils the barrel. You can see in the sentences on the screen how this might work out. I am sick. In Latin, that would be sum aeger. You are my doctor. Meus physicus es. You are, right? Physicus, the noun, agrees with you. Meus, the adjective, agrees with physicus. That is, they're both nominative, masculine, singular. I love your divine wisdom. I am loving. The thing that I am loving is your wisdom. Sapientiam. That is accusative then, because it's the direct object of a transitive verb. Your and divine are adjectives that are modifying wisdom. So they must agree with wisdom, both of them. And they both agree with wisdom in being feminine, accusative, singular. All right? Now, the sentence down here, multae feminae et vir sunt boni, is an example of the one bad apple rule. See here, many women and a man are good. All right. Now, the linking verb can be a little bit confusing moving from English to Latin, because English uses our linking verb, the verb to be, as part of the actual verb. And you'll see this with is walking or was walking, verbs like that. Now in Latin, when you say he is walking, it's very different from saying he is sick, because the is walking, that whole thing together, is actually the verb. He is walking ambulat. It will be a temptation for you, now that you have the verb to be, to want to translate that is, or that you are, or whatever, you are walking, you are standing. You'll want to translate that with the verb to be. But those verbs, right, with that participle, with the ing thing, that's the whole verb altogether. And in Latin, more often than not, that's just a single word. All right, and that's it for now. More later on the new genitive and ablative uses. What you need to take essentially from this chapter is a reminder about agreement, knowing that adjectives appear in 2 basic groups, ones that follow the first and second declension endings, and ones that follow the third declension endings. You need to remember that adjectives take endings to show their case, gender, and number, so that you know that they're in agreement with a noun. That noun will have the same case, gender, and number as the adjectives. All right, go ahead, read the chapter, get back to me with any questions. Thanks.